So in reactions of carboxylic acid, which we are going to discuss today, before I go for the reactions, I would like to write the same scheme of work which we have been writing from the last 2-3 days. Okay, primary alcohols undergo what? Oxidation, and they turn into what? Aldehyde, and then and in the meanwhile, they lose their what? Only 2 hydrogens. And then these aldehydes undergo oxidation again by gaining 1 oxygen, and they turn into what? Carboxylic acid. Okay. And then carboxylic acid turn back into aldehyde and then primary alcohol. But ये जो mid का reaction है, that is not the part of the syllabus. So we say that carboxylic acid directly undergo reduction and turn into what? Primary alcohol. So this is the another reaction which we are going to discuss. The first reaction of carboxylic acid is the reduction, in which they turn into primary alcohol, right? जिसमें आपको पता है एक ऑक्सीजन रिमूव होगा और 2 hydrogen will be added up. Okay, and the primary alcohol will turn into carboxylic acid turns into directly primary alcohol, no aldehyde in between. Okay, so the first reaction is the reduction of carboxylic acid. I'm writing this scheme time and again just to make you memorize this as well, right? This is how, because 90% of organic reactions based on this scheme, because aldehyde involved, primary alcohol involved, carboxylic acid involved. So mostly this reaction scheme revolves around your syllabus. Reduction of carboxylic acids. Now, there are 2 reducing agents which we use for the reduction of organic compounds, especially the carbonyl C double bond O or carboxyl C double bond O functional groups. And these 2, I told you, NaBH4 and LiLH4, but I clearly told you at that time that NaBH4 can only reduce aldehyde and ketones. In order to reduce the carboxylic acid, we need LiLH4. So the reagent is not NaBH4 here. It is LiAlH4 dissolved in ether. Ether is the solvent. Condition is heat under reflux. HUR, heat under reflux. Again, it provides hydrogens. Okay, so if this is a carboxylic acid, you don't write LiLH4 in the equation. You just write the symbol of LiLH4, and it turns into what? CH3, CH2OH. The COOH turns into CH2OH. और मैंने क्या कहा? 2 hydrogen add होने हैं. So you need 2 hydrogens to add up, and then there is 1 oxygen removed. And you need 2 more hydrogen atoms to combine with this oxygen to form water. So please balance equation, they ask you. Plus H2O. So how many hydrogens in total you need? 4 hydrogens. So keep in mind the balance equations they ask you. So finally, COOH turns into CH2OH. That's a straightforward. Then that was the first reaction. Number 2 is reaction with metal and metal compounds. Reaction with metal and metal compounds. Now look at this, bacho. These are the reactions which we learned in O-level acid-base salts chemistry. If I take an acid, for example, CH3COOH, I'm going to explain the principle of this reaction. Please pay attention. I would like you to pay attention, and then I'll give you the time to write. Look at this. This is an acid. When it reacts with metal oxide, metal hydroxide, metal carbonate, or metal hydrogen carbonate. So I'm going to cover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reactions in one go. Because they all 5 reactions follow the same principle. And the principle is the metal's H is going to displace this hydrogen. Metal's H, metal is going to displace the hydrogen of carboxylic acid. But only the hydrogen that is the last, the functional group wala hydrogen, that actually ionizes. Because if you remember, once we write the ionization of this acid, just write it here. Please don't write, just look at this. Once you look at the ionization of any acid or carboxylic acid, they can't ionize the hydrogens attached with carbon. These CH3 hydrogens, they can't ionize. They can only ionize the hydrogen that is the part of the functional group, right? So it ionizes to give what? CH3COO negative plus H positive. Okay? So this is the part that is lost. Okay? CH3COO negative plus H positive. So that H positive, and you know they are the weak acids, so they don't ionize fully. They ionize partially. And you understand the partial ionization mean? That it is like maximum 5%. Just for this food of thought, bata raha hu, कि they don't ionize and put them into the water. Only 95 are still left. Only how many break down? Only 5%. Right? So that's why their ionization is very less. Okay, coming back to the reaction with metals. Hence, that hydrogen is the only one that is available to be replaced. So the metal goes and takes the place of that. But as I told you, that when this hydrogen is lost, there is an ion that is formed, CH3COO negative ion, because H positive has gone. That ion has one negative charge. Similarly, the metal is Na, it has a one positive charge. So this thing, when metal replaces the hydrogen, this thing is known as salt. But the formula of salt, we don't have to see कि कितने metal गए. We just have to see कि metal charge and this charge. If they cancel out each other, so then that's why. Formula rule in O levels we learned, we have to cross multiply. So this is the salt that is formed plus the hydrogen that has been lost, that is lost in the form of H2 gas. I'm putting half with this H2 to balance it out, right? So in other words, so when acid, this is ethanoic acid, please now listen carefully. This is ethanoic acid. It reacted with Na metal, the salt, and the ethanoic acid से ही नाम बनेगा salt का. And the salt name is known as ethanoate, the sodium ethanoate, because ये acid से बना है. अगर acid would have been propanoic acid, तो salt का नाम क्या हो जाता? Propanoate. Butanoic acid, butanoate. Okay, so salt name is sodium ethanoate. Along with what? What is the other product? Hydrogen gas. Okay, and because sodium metal is very reactive, so this hydrogen gas is produced with effervescence or lot of fizzing. And I told you this thing can be used as a identification. I put sodium metal in a liquid and effervescence happened. I suspect that could be a carboxylic acid. But the same thing you learned, there is another functional group where this thing happened, alcohol. So sodium metal ka test can be used to identify carboxylic acid or alcohol. So I take a liquid, put sodium metal into that, and then suddenly effervescence takes place. So I can suspect that two functional groups must be there, either alcohol or carboxylic acid, right? And then next you can further differentiate. But here, now look at this. If I even react it with sodium oxide, अब sodium oxide metal oxide है, आपको पता है? This is going to do what? This sodium is going to replace hydrogen. तो क्या बन जाएगा देखिए जरा. CH3, again the same principle. CH3 COO Na but this time the other product is not hydrogen gas, it is water. So this is the reaction. Okay, when metal oxide reacts, तो आप कहते हैं principle is the same. Now I don't have to look at how many sodium gone. I just have to say कि one sodium metal goes and replace this. और फिर ये जो one sodium है, I just follow the formula writing principle. One negative, one positive, they cancel out each other. That's why the salt formed is sodium ethanoate. Similarly, if you look at this, plus NaOH, क्या बनेगा? CH3COONA plus what? Again H2O. So even metal oxide, metal hydroxide, the principle is the same. The metal Na will displace hydrogen of carboxylic acid, and the salt is formed along with water. But in these two cases, when there are carbonates, again the same thing happen. Sodium is going to displace the hydrogen. तो क्या बनेगा? CH3COONA plus carbon dioxide plus water. Here it is. Okay. And in order to balance this above two equations, sorry, I have to multiply the top one. Sodium wali balance kar raha hu, oxide wali. 2 se multiply, 2 se multiply. Okay. Similarly over here, you have to balance it. So multiply with 2, multiply with 2. The last one again, CH3COOH. Again, the Na is going to displace. So additional thing in the last two equations, which you can see, what is formed? Along with salt and water, what is the third thing formed? And carbon dioxide again is the gas that is released with effervescence. Hence, this is the proper test for the reaction of carboxylic acid. Okay, so sodium metal डालने से तो शक होता है ना कि या अल्कोहल है या कार्बोक्सिलिक एसिड है, बट कार्बोनेट डालने से अगर एफरवेसेंस हो तो फिर कंफर्म हो जाता है कि कौन है ये कार्बोक्सिलिक एसिड है. Excuse me, would you please mind paying attention? So carbon dioxide released with effervescence. So it is a test of this. Now you can write it. So I hope you followed the principle. Now, if I change the equations, you have to follow the principle and write these equations. For example, CH3COOH plus Mg Please complete these equations. And you know one thing, as far as the direct metal is concerned, there are few exceptions which do not react with dilute acids with the carboxylic acids. वो metal कौन सी हैं? Most of the metals react, but कौन सी नहीं react करती? Copper, silver, mercury, gold, platinum. These are the metals which do not react directly when they are added into the carboxylic acids, right? Other than this, all the metals react to produce salt and hydrogen gas, but their oxides, hydroxide, carbonates, they all react. There is no exception in them, okay? The carbonates, their compounds, they all react. Only the pure metals, copper, silver, gold, platinum, they don't react with acids directly. Except these metals, they react with acid to form salt and hydrogen gas. G, you have to write the products for these reactions and balance the equations. Copper oxide. Copper oxides. Okay, now look at this. With calcium, the Ca displaces this hydrogen. So it becomes what? CH3COO plus Ca. But what is the formula now? Because COO is one negative, calcium is in group 2, it is 2 positive. Do they cancel out? Then you have to cross. 2 goes with CH3COO, so you have to take a whole. Okay. Right? Plus H2 gas. Okay. Multiply with 2. Similarly, copper oxide, the copper is going to displace this hydrogen of propanoic acid. The salt name is calcium ethanoate. No, pure metal does not react. That's why I write this reaction. Their oxides, hydroxides, carbonates, they all react. Okay, only the pure copper cannot. Metal cannot react. So product is CH3, CH2, CO, O, twice Cu. Why twice? Because copper is +2 and propanoate is -1. You don't write the charge. I'm just explaining it. Plus this time H2O. If this is propanoic acid, the salt name is copper, and you know copper का आपको वो लिखना होता है oxidation number. Copper to propanoate. Now, बच्चों, these reactions, you know, we have given names to these reactions. The first one, that is with the metal. You know, the metal is undergoing what? Look at this. The metal oxidation state changes from 0 to +2. So it is a metal की oxidation हो रही है और उसकी क्या हो रही है? Reduction हो रही है. So when oxidation reduction takes place, what type of reaction we call it? Redox. So please write down when acid react with metal, this reaction type is known as redox reactions. The metal type is known as redox reaction. Type of reaction is redox. And we all know that the reaction of metal oxide and metal hydroxide, these two. Do we know metal oxide and metal hydroxide are bases and alkalis? That's why these reactions are known as, when acid react with base or alkali, what the type of reaction? Neutralization reaction. So please give the names of these. These are neutralization reactions. And then last two, with the carbonate and hydrogen carbonate, they are again acid-base reaction, because these carbonates act like a base. Okay, so they are acid-base reaction. Neutralization reaction, these are known as acid-base reaction. So please note down, you have to give the type of reaction in all these cases always. Redox with metals. With metals, redox. With metal oxide and hydroxide, neutralization. And with the carbonates and hydrogen carbonates, it's a acid base. Now, but one last thing what the examiners usually do, please pay attention. Pay attention. वो इसको ना, नो प्लीज पे अटेंशन, इसको वो इस तरह लिख देते हैं. They can write this salt in the form of formula like this: CH3COO twice. यानी कैल्शियम पहले और इथेनोएट बाद में. Doesn't make difference. Okay, so because normally when we write the salt, positive ion पहले होता है, negative ion बाद में होता है. राइट, यहाँ तो मैंने क्योंकि वहां से डिस्प्लेस हो रहा था तो इसलिए आपको कंफ्यूज नहीं किया. आई जस्ट वांटेड टू लेट यू नो कि बस हाइड्रोजन हटाना है और मेटल लगा देना है. ओके, बट यू कैन ऑल्सो राइट इट लाइक दिस. फिर इसमें वो एक और कंफ्यूजन भी कर सकते हैं. They can combine these carbons together. If you to look at this carbon, how many carbon inside this bracket? Two. How many hydrogens? And how many oxygens? और now multiply all this with 2, तो क्या बन जाएगा? C4H6 and O4, and overall charge will be 2 minus, and then this is, so this is the formula of the same salt. So don't confuse कि ये salt तो हमने कभी पढ़ा ही नहीं. वो ये लिख देते हैं कि this salt calcium ethanoate is formed. This is what? Calcium ethanoate. So please write down the formula of calcium ethanoate in 3 different forms, right? This one, and then this one. Okay, CaC4H6O4. This is the salt का, किस salt का formula है? Calcium ethanoate. So they usually try to confuse with this because students think कि 4 carbon है, ethanoate तो नहीं हो सकता ये, right? So but they write it like this. Is it clear now? CaC4H6O4, and the salt name is calcium ethanoate. Acid base. Okay, now that's the reaction with metal and metal oxides and metal hydroxide and carbonates. Their effervescence, I told you, their test, I told you, type of reaction, I told you, and then finally I told you how to write the salts formula. इनमें से definitely एक या दो MCQs सिर्फ this part में से, right? And mostly the structure question भी आ जाता है, right? Okay, next. Now the third reaction, पहला था with reduction, दूसरा था with metal, and तीसरा है the famous reaction of carboxylic acid known as esterification. I hope you remember what happens in esterification. I'll go through it quickly. Carboxylic acid react with what? Alcohol. It is a reversible reaction and there was a catalyst used. Remember? H2SO4. Well done. Now, and you also remember the principle. It loses its OH. Yes. So carboxylic acid lose their OH and alcohols lose their H. So I'm going to write carboxylic acid first without its OH. So at O levels, I usually tell the student the simplest way of writing it, just when you are making an ester, just write the carboxylic acid without its OH. And then right after the carboxylic acid CO, just write alcohol's oxygen. Only alcohol's oxygen. And then the alcohol which you are using contains how many carbons? So just write one carbon next to that and that'll be the structure of ester. So this is the simplest way of doing it. That first you write carboxylic acid without OH and then CO के साथ alcohol का oxygen and then जितने भी alcohol के carbon है you just connect them with that oxygen and that'll be the structure of ester that is formed. Okay, and plus we know what? H2O. And it's the reversible reaction comes back as well. And we also learned that in ester का नाम भी इसी से बनता है. If you remember, if this is ethanoic acid and this is methanol, yes, तो आप कहते हैं इसी से डिराइव होगा. ये आयल बन जाएगा, ये क्या बन जाएगा? O8 बन जाएगा. So what will be the name? Methyl ethanoate. Okay, now I'm not going to give the bunch of examples just because of you have done in O level. मैं इसको सीधा A level के touch पे लाता हूँ. So in A levels actually, for example, if I ask you, okay, this is a compound. we have to esterify it. I hope you understand this compound. Now, this is, if I tell you, it is having two functional groups. How many, which two functional groups? Carboxylic acid and hydroxy. Now it means in order to make ester, this compound does not need another group of compound. एक beaker में you just take this compound and put sulfuric acid as a catalyst. तो उसके अपने ही मॉलिक्यूल क्या होने लग जाएंगे? रिएक्ट करने लग जाएंगे. Let's say एक मॉलिक्यूल will act as a carboxylic acid, तो साथ वाला मॉलिक्यूल will act as alcohol और आपस में क्या बना देंगे? Ester बना देंगे. Right? So this is how, for example, this is 2-hydroxy propanoic acid. Okay, but before we go for this esterification, मैं इसको आसान कर लेता हूँ. Let's write this first molecule CH3CHOH and then COOH. इसी का दूसरा molecule I'm writing, so I'm gonna switch it. Switch कैसे करना है? So this OH I'm gonna bring on this side. Okay. So मैं इसकी पोजीशन बदल देता हूं. इधर देखें, OH CH3 की जगह और CHOH की जगह. So how this molecule will look like? देखो CH होगा इधर, यहां CH3 ले आया जहां OH था, और जहां CH3 था वहां किसको लिख दिया? OH को. It's not required, it's for my own convenience. Okay. Now look at this. Now it's easy. क्या होगा? Yes, this is going to lose its OH and this is going to lose its H, and they are connect together. Okay, so what will be the ester that is formed? CH3 CHOH C double bond O, and then what next? O. फिर आगे कॉपी करना है ना, CH CH3 OH. Now this thing is formed is ester plus H2O. Now this ester that is formed here, it contains what? Three functional groups. Which three functional groups? Carboxylic acid, ester, and hydroxy or alcohol. ऐसे ही है? No, you have to listen one thing. This is important now. Please pay attention. This is very important. There is a new term which you will learn here in AS, cyclic esters. Cyclic esters. What are these cyclic esters? As the name tells you, cyclic, I have made you understand in organic compound, when they ring up the last carbons, so they make a cycle. Similarly, you understand, okay, cycle होगा और ester होगा functional group. Now look at this. इसी से मैं बनाने की कोशिश करता हूँ. थोड़ा सा complex हो जाएगा. I need your complete attention, undivided attention, please. इसी को बनाने की कोशिश करता हूँ. Just look at this compound. Would be a little complex. Please pay attention. Eliza, please wake yourself up. इसमें देखिए, this compound का one side, what is this functional group which I double ticked? And this, the single ticked? Hydroxy. So they can esterify. कि इसका एक end, इसके एक तरह से दूसरे end के साथ आप कहते हैं कि it doesn't need another molecule even. They can esterify within. Again, but not again in that sense. Again, I would not say, because वो वाली esterification एक molecule 1 और molecule 2 के बीच में थी. Now this is not the case. This is even the more complex case. कि molecule के अंदर esterification होने वाली है. It does not need even another molecule of this. One side, which is a carboxylic, is going to lose its what? The other side is going to lose its. ऐसे ही है? So they are going to ring up. They are going to combine like this, right? Now this oxygen will directly bond with this CO. And there are two things. One thing, that another ester is formed, and the secondly, the molecule is also turned into a cyclic, right? So for my own convenience, I can write it like this. I'm gonna pull it down. For example, look, this is CH, this is C double bond O, this is O, and then I'm going to write CH here with this CH3, and then C double bond O here. Now this is the C double bond O that I have moved it down. Okay? ये वाला C double bond O. This one. Okay? I'm just writing for my own convenience in this way. And now this C double bond O is bonding with what? This O here. Okay? And this CH also has a CH3. You understand what I did now? Just to make you, I just brought these C double bond O and OH close to each other. Okay, let me bring more close like this. Here. Okay, now it's a cyclic ester. Now this organic compound contains two functional groups. दोनों esters हैं. यहाँ भी ester है और यहाँ भी एक ester है. Okay, so as I said, it was a complex thing to happen. Plus H2. Naming this is not the part of the syllabus. It's a complex thing. But I hope you got my point. You will be having the compounds like this. For example, now it has nothing to do with the buzz. I just wanted to make you clear the cyclic ester. Look at this. If I draw a compound like this, look at this compound, bacho. Now, what is this functional group? Ester. And ester is in a cycle. So it means this was an organic compound. This was an organic compound जिसकी basically एक टर्मिनल पे OH था और दूसरे टर्मिनल पे क्या था? COOH था. So actually this was a compound like this. Okay, carboxylic acid was here, then it was CH2, then it was CH2, then it was CH2, then it was OH. So it was this compound. ऐसे ही है. So what happened? In order to esterify, it does not need even another molecule. One terminal lost is OH, and the other terminal lost is H, and they join together. And even if I write it in a straight, मैंने तो इसको ring में इसलिए लिखा just to make them close together, to make you understand okay, they are going to join like this. But actually, this molecule was like this: COOH, then 1, 2, 3, CH2, 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 and then the last part is OH. Got it now? So I turned it into this form, and then it turned into this. Okay? So this is how the cyclic ester or the process of esterification takes place, right? In the next class, we're going to see the reverse of esterification. And reverse of esterification, I hope you understand. What will be the reverse of esterification? Hydrolysis होगी और back to क्या हो जाएगा? पानी के साथ reaction है ना? Carboxylic acid and alcohols are formed, right? That'll be the last reaction. Thank you.